What's going on, YouTube? West Hobbies RC. So today we're back with the one-of-a-kind build. We're back with part 9. We will have it finished up in this video, I'm pretty sure. So what we're working on now is we got our paper out. I just use regular printer paper to make my templates. So I'll go ahead and tape these together, and we are going to work on the black stripe that runs along the fuselage side and runs up the wing to the tip, and then it has the green layout in it on both sides. So we only have to make one template because whatever we make for one side, we can flip it over and do the other side. So that's the nice thing about making a template, is if you're doing the same thing, you only have to make one. After we get this done, we will go ahead and make our wing harness. We have our ailerons, flaps. This one is gear, ailerons, flaps. So we have to make the Y harnesses that connect all these together to the wing plug to go to the fuselage. So I'm going to start taping this together, get the template made out, and then I will be back once I make a template so you can kind of see what it looks like. Alright, so we made the template. Just used some regular printer paper as I just showed. Taped it all together. Measured. We're going to end up going 1.25 inches from center line of the wing, so that way when I take this template and flip it over, I'll measure 1.25 inches and it will completely match up. And it will give us the look that we are going for. So I'm going to set the time lapse up on the GoPro, and I'm going to start cutting 2 templates of black. We'll get those put on the wing, and then, well, before we get them on the wing, after we cut them, I'm going to give you a tip about laying a color over top of a color. You have to poke holes underneath, but I'll show you that before we actually put the covering down. So I'm going to get the GoPro set up, set the time lapse up. I'm going to get these cut out, and then I'll be back. Alright, so we got the trim pieces cut out as you've seen from the time lapse. So, one thing I wanted to touch on, we already covered this whole wing. So in order to lay another piece of trim, now with vinyl like these are, and all the other trim on the aircraft is vinyl exception of the fuselage, you can just use little soapy water, like when you're putting stickers down, get all the air out, you don't have to worry about this. But if you were to do letters out of monocoat, or any trim out of monocoat like we have here, this will be the black done out of monocoat, you can't just cover this down. You can't just take your iron and shrink it down, because what will happen is you'll get air trapped underneath of it, and it will look like absolute crap. So, what I do, and what you have to do if you're trying to do this, is put your template down, or your trim piece down, whatever you're doing. And then you're going to want to mark this off. You can use a marker, you can use a pencil, whatever you want to do. I just like to put a tick mark from a magic marker around the area. That way I can wipe it back off with alcohol when I'm done. And if you use a pencil, you'll leave an indentation. Like as you can see, I wrote right here, and you can kind of see it marked up the wood when I was writing on the template. So you mark this with the magic marker. Just put a couple tick marks so you know roughly where your trim piece is going to go. Take yourself a T-pin. Now they make a device called a woodpecker. I don't have one, so T-pin it is. What I do is I go around and I just poke a bunch of holes, where I just poke a whole crap ton of holes everywhere. I like to leave myself about 1/4 inch overlap on both sides, so wherever my lines are, I'll go in 1/4 inch, trace out my template on the inside, and then just start poking holes all around. So I'm going to get all the holes poked, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so it looks the same as it just did a second ago, but I just taped the template back down, or the covering back down. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to peel this back for a second, and if you notice, I just took a regular T-pin, just a regular old T-pin, and poked a bunch of holes. So again, this is magic marker. I just used a regular old Sharpie. I just put a couple tick marks where the template was, and then I went inside of it, tried to get it as, I don't want it but too much, and then out here. But the reason why you're doing these holes is so you can let the air escape between the two coverings. So if you just tried to put this down on top of this, it would get a bunch of air bubbles in it, it would look like crap, and you would never get all the air out. So with the holes poked in, Now it allows the air to escape through into the wing and will allow the covering to shrink down perfectly. So now we're going to put this back, cover it, shrink it down, and then we will do this side. So I'll be back once both sides are done. Alright, so this is where we're at. We got the left wing done. It is all covered and shrunken. I still have to use the iron and work out these little area right here. Can work this out a little bit. I'll turn the heat up and get it out, but majority of it is done all the way through, nice and clean, perfect lines. Now it is time to do the right wing. So same thing, we taped it in place. I will go along with my black magic marker and just put a little tick mark every so often, especially where the curve is. And then I'll just work my way down the wing. And of course, when I'm done, use the rubbing alcohol like I did here. Cleaned all the rubbing alcohol off. When rubbing alcohol cleaned all the marker off, sorry. Yeah, you can't tell it. So we're just doing this because we want to make sure that we don't put holes where they don't need to be, because once you put the holes here, you are SOL. Now you just poked holes in covering, and it does not feel right. It definitely feels super wrong to be poking holes in brand new covering, but it is what it is. Now for the tip of the wing, or the tip of the covering, for about an inch and a half, I don't poke no holes. So I go about an inch and a half in and then start, because this last little bit we push with the iron out, and that will get all the air out of it. You can add them if you want to. Don't have to though. Good. So now we have our marker line put out. Focus camera. Come on. Okay. Sorry about that. So now we have our marker line put out. We'll go ahead and flip this over, poke all of our holes, flip it back, start covering it. So I'll be back once I get it done. Alright, so we got both sides done. It's all ironed down. We got the holes recut back out with the wood burner. So now the black is done. And I think it looks pretty decent. It came out okay, I'm happy. It's a little different than the picture, but I'm all right with that. I just gave it a little different touch. So now there is green that goes here. So I went ahead, cut these green stripes, and they are going to inlay here after I measure. And then once these are laid, we'll come back and I'll use some probably 1/8 inch black monocoat, some stick-on trim that I have, cut it down to 1/8 inch, and there's a couple stripes that lay throughout the green. So actually I have a picture of it right here. So if you noticed, right there we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stripes, and then that will finish off all the covering. All right, all the covering is done. So we got the green laid over the black. We got the black stripes laid out, 6 of them on each side. We went ahead and used some of this Ultra Stripe by Hanger 9, 3/16. It's a black vinyl pin striping that you use for going around things or whatever colors you want. They make it in all different colors. A little expensive at $13 for a roll of it, but it does work great. I have a bunch of different colors. So we use that. Went ahead, measured out, and then I went ahead and took my fresh X-Acto blade and just lightly scored along, so we trimmed it out. So now that is done. So all the covering is 100%. Now the wing is finished. All the covering is finished. Now it is time to do the wing harness, and we will call this project done. So I'm gonna start making the wing harness, and then I'll be back. Alright, so I figured I'd share something with you guys real quick. So I just got done making my Y harness. I like to make my own, cheaper, and you know how good they're made, and you can make to any length, size that you want. Really nice, you can make it very conveniently. So I already soldered up these. I figured I'd done with these, I'd like to shoot a quick video and show you guys, because I don't think even on my helicopter videos when I rewired those I've showed you how to do this. So I got my wires all soldered up, so this part's done. Now we have to add the ends to it. So if you notice, we have a female on this end and we have 2 males on this end. So we'll go ahead and start with the female end because it's here first. So the way I always do it is I always will start with the signal wire, because you have your signal, your power, and your negative. So what I like to do, or you could start with your brown, your negative wire. But anyway, so you have your crimper tool. And I'm just using this cheap kit from Amazon. The crimper tool came from Amazon. So we have our little connectors here. These are our little ends. And then here we have our little pieces already pre-cut. So what I like to do, and it can take some time to figure this out, but this is the way I've learned how to do it. It definitely took some getting used to. Let me focus the camera here for a second. Okay. So if you notice here, I crimp down right till about there and then stop. Now the most important thing that I've learned is that once you get it there, you need to pull until it stops. And that sets the actual crimp itself all the way down till there's a little lip in there. So now I'm going to go ahead, and what's very important here is the way that it goes, so the direction. So if you noticed, this end is flat on the bottom. Well, not flat, but you have the little indent on the bottom. And then this end, where the actual crimp itself faces up. So your crimp faces up here. So you want the crimp facing up to go in the hole here because of your locking mechanism that is right there. That's what locks the actual pin into your little plastic case. So with this side, I'll start with the negative first. So you're going to want to twist your wire, insert into here, and push until you can see wire coming through, which I don't think you're going to be able to see on camera. Oh, there, barely. Okay, so we got wire coming through, crimp all the way down. I let off, I come back, crimp one more time. So now we have one end completely crimped. We have a good crimp, give a good pull, it's there. So now I'm going to go ahead, fold this wire out of my way. I'm going to grab another end I have here. Again, insert it into my tool, just like this. I'm going to squeeze down till about there. And then, if you noticed, I will grab it and pull. That recesses the crimp all the way back. That's what the hardest part when I first started doing this was, that I kept screwing these crimps up because they kept clamping too far down and I didn't know that you're supposed to pull them. So now we're gonna look, we got wire coming through, make sure that your wire's out of the way. I've done that before, and then you gotta cut it all off. Now we're gonna come back one more time. Now our next crimp is completely done. So there's 2 wires. Now we'll fold both of these back. Go ahead, grab our last female crimp for this harness. And hopefully this will focus. Here we go. And this is what I was talking about. So if you look inside of here, there's a little ridge right there, right in the middle. And that's where you're pulling this till it stops. So again, clamp down till about there. Pull till it stops. Take your wire. Hold on here. I'm trying to watch the camera as I do this to make sure I'm getting this on video. All right, so now we are going to insert, push until we see wire coming out the other side, which I do. Then make sure your wires are out of the way. Crimp down. I like to do it one more time. Crimp down. Now we have crimped all of our wires and they all look good. They're crimped very nicely. They're strong. So now we're going to go ahead. We will take our plastic end and we will insert it through this hole, just like this, and push until you hear it click. Push down good. So now if you notice, this little locking mechanism is where it locks. Now if you notice one important thing, they're not all the way in. They're not locked. So I'll take a T-pin, because this is 22 gauge wire that I use, so it's a really heavy gauge wire. If you're using 20 gauge or thinner, you don't have to worry about this, but because the wire is so thick, sometimes it has a hard time pushing through to lock. So what I like to do is I just like to grab my T-pin. I like to come up underneath the connector here, which I know it's going to be very hard for you guys to see this, and I will just push forward till I get it into place until it locks in, which I'll do off camera because it's really hard to do this. So sometimes you have to do on the bottom push out. But now you have one servo end done, and it's the same principle for this end. So this end, we're just going to strip these wires off. Oh, I didn't mention, for stripping the wires off, you're going to want to use, I like to go about that far, and then just strip it off. That's all the wire you need showing. And then I just do that on all the rest of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one finished up, and then I'll be right back when I get this finished up and show you what we have done. Alright, so we finished the two Y harnesses. So both of these are done. One will be for ailerons, one is for flaps. They came out perfect, nice short. And then we made up 3 little extensions. This will be for ailerons, flaps, and retracts. So those come right out of the receiver. They'll be nice and secured. There's a little wing harness to go to the wings. Okay, so next we mounted a switch. So I did this off camera. So the switch runs up here, and we have a switch here. It is flush mounted, so I can reach into here and turn the aircraft off and on. And then, sorry guys, I'm trying to get the airplane and show you. So now we have to shorten the switch wires. So we have it come out of the switch, really long wires, but we're gonna end up shortening these because it's gonna be a direct run from here to the switch. So this will come out and go right to there, nice and neat. This one we're not gonna need, so we'll probably unsolder it from the switch itself because we're not gonna need this wire. And then this wire is the wire that will run into the back for power. So I'm gonna probably put the battery back under there. And then that will finish up the receiver mounting, and we're gonna put the GPS here, and then we're gonna make little antenna tubes to run the antennas like this and like this. And then this will pretty much finish up the one-of-a-kind Spitfire. Also, which I'm running the 3D printer right now, I'm 3D printing little scale accessories. So that is the mirror. Came out okay. Pretty happy with it. So we're going to do the mirror, which is already done. The glue is drying. And then we're going to be doing the antenna tube, or the antenna. And then we're doing the radiators for the wing. So I'm going to get the GPS mounted, and then get the antenna tubes made, and tidy up these wires, and then I will be back. Alright, so we got the GPS installed. We ran the wire. I still have to tidy these wires up a little bit, but we got the switch finished up. We got the switch shortened it direct run right into the receiver here. And then we got our little antenna tubes made. They're just pneumatic retract hosing with black heat shrink over it, glue it down. So we got one antenna ran that way, the other antenna runs this way. We got our satellite installed, antenna running this way. And then down here, this is for the life battery, which will sit down under these push rods on that wood tray. So this will go down there, run to our life battery. We got our blind nuts put in, which are 1/4-20 metal blind nuts, 1/4-20 bolts. We got our, of course, power wires ran. We got the signal or the power wire out of the speed controller, so we just have signal and negative since we are running a separate power supply. So everything under here is finished up pretty much, just tidying up a couple little wires. And then on the top here, flip this thing over. We have our batteries. We had to make a custom strap, but the strap is done. Now we have our 8S to 4S 5000 in series. We have our connector here. Our power switch is down here for on and off, so it's really nice and easy. Just reach in, flip it on, reach in, turn it off. We are good to go. And then I went ahead and made up this little jumper adapter, and that is for here. So that way, because the Maiden Flight will be on 6S, just to get it up, get it to, trimmed and flying, and we can just plug this in, and then we loop this side, and now we have this side just for power for 6S, and then when we want 8S, we have this. We have our two XT90s. So it is done. Everything is completed. The only thing we have to do still is we have to glue the mirror on here, and I went ahead and printed these up too. 3D printed. These are the wing cannons. Now we have to chop these off so they look more like here. So we'll still have to cut these off, paint these black, but all in all, it is finished. It is ready to go. I am super excited. Maiden Flight coming very soon. And also on the wing here, we got the little radiator scoops put in, 3D printed as well. They are hollow, so air will flow right through. So the wing is done 100%. Got the gear doors geared, working like they should. So the one-of-a-kind Spitfire project is done. We have completed the project. The airplane is ready to go, and I could not be more excited. So thank you guys so much for watching, and now it is time to start the next Reno racing project. And of course, you will get a full review and look at the airplane when we are at the runway and we are ready to fly. So that's going to conclude this part of the video. Thank you guys so much for following along the whole series. Take care. Have a great day.
I couldn't leave you guys off like that in the video. I had to get you a full done shot. So here it is. One-of-a-kind Spitfire project is done. It came out absolutely perfect. It just looks beautiful. Can't believe how great it came out. The detail work, the final, all the time my wife spent cutting all the decals, the over 50 hours of monocoat work that I have into this thing. And we are at the flying field about to do the Maiden Flight. So the next video you guys see will be the Maiden Flight of this guy. So now, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care and have a great day.